What's good, tribe? You know? Welcome to the video. So as you can tell by the logo, we are going to go over my Become a Better Father program. For those of you who are interested into the program, there's a free download of the first module of my program in the description. 100% free. Your name, your email, download is yours. If you want the complete program, you have to actually pay for that, but that is also in the description. And we're going to continue with the lesson. So we left off in the core teaching part of lesson 16. So we ended on number 2, and I'm going to start with number 2. That way we can recap. Right? So we're talking about creating a safe space and having an open conversation with your children. We did this is the part 2 to that video. If you want to see that first video, that is also in my content. As a matter of fact, we did the video yesterday. We ended with number 2 in our core teachings. I'm going to start there. So number 2 is validate their feelings. So we're talking about so let me start off with the whole core teachings. A child who feels safe talking to their father will grow up with confidence, emotional intelligence, and strong decision-making skills. Here's how to create that kind of environment. Number 1, listen without judgment. Number 2 is validate their feelings. Every child wants to feel understood and not dismissed. Well, excuse me, y'all. Instead of saying, that's not a big deal, try, I see this, excuse me. So try saying, instead of saying it's not a big deal, try, I see this matters to you, let's talk about it. And lastly, under number 2, even if their feelings seem small to you, they are real to them. And when I ended the last video, we were talking about that. A lot of times as fathers, our children, my son was infamous for this. He would have a problem and it would be like the only thing on the entire planet that mattered was what he was going through. He made sure you understood that. Now, while his problem is valid, because it's a problem, albeit he's like, 9, 10 years old, that's not really a problem. But to him, it is. To him, it's just something he can't even unfathom how he's going through this, right? It's not our duty as fathers to minimize what our children feel, but it's our job to better understand why they're feeling the way they're feeling. Okay, so my son, he lost the game. Game was like $10, $20, wasn't that expensive, and he was very down about it. Right? He didn't think I was gonna buy him another one, and he made this big old fuss about it. So finally, I sat him down. He's arguing with his friends. He's yelling. He's mad. So I let him cool off, and I said, "Son, what's going on, man? Tell me why you're really upset." He said, "Well, I lost my game." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, can we get another one?" "Well, yeah." "Okay, well, I had to break it down to him. Not that what he was going through wasn't important, but relative to it being something that can be solvable, right?" And to tell him, "Son, the idea is, or the notion should be that you can solve this, and it's not a massive enough problem where we need to really give it our attention, for our full attention, but I'm going to give it some, and I will help him solve it. And I wouldn't say this is what we're going to do, and that's it. The idea is, or for me anyway, was to have him recognize the problem, and then come up with solutions to solve it. And if he couldn't solve it, then it's not really a problem. You can, any problem you have, most problems you have anyway, you can solve. There's a solve for it somewhere. Either before the problem started or after the problem, there's a solve somewhere. If there's no solve for it, like no solve at all, it's not really a problem. And that's definitely not something you should worry about, gentlemen. But I made sure that I made sure that I let my son know that what he was going through wasn't something that wasn't like not important, but that his feelings were valid about how he was feeling, and that it mattered to me that we talk about this so he can actually develop the skills to navigate this. Reason this is important is this. We know for a fact There's a lot of children who lack the ability to actually problem solve. They don't know how to problem solve. They don't know how to look at it, to have an issue arise, look at it for what it is, and then decipher on what part they can solve and not solve the ones they can solve first, and they come back and look at the ones they couldn't solve later on. A lot of people throw the whole thing into a bucket. They don't know us. They don't understand 1/16 of it, and they just want to destroy the entire world. I don't understand what this means. Well, let's figure out what we can solve first. And it's teaching that skill that can truly transform your child's life, because I would argue the vast majority of people don't have problem solving skills or even understand how to solve problems in a way that proves to be advantageous for them. Number 3, I gotta read on. Number 3, ask thoughtful questions. Asking questions, man. Asking questions is the best way to find out where your child is on a journey of just thinking, right? To just assume they know things, it doesn't serve the child, like, at all. When I ask a question, number 1, the question is to reiterate the fact that you understand what I'm talking about. That's number 1. That's one for me anyway. I would ask a question and say, okay, because I want you to understand what the next questions are going to be. Right? Now, if I know the answer, I'm not going to ask you. I'm going to tell you what I know, then I'm going to tell you what your punishment is. That's it. Right? But a lot of times, asking thoughtful questions when our children are, dealing with something, helps them to better understand what they're dealing with. I.e., my son. Hey, son, have you ever thought about it this way? Do we need to look at it at this? Should we probably change games and go to something else, because the way you're acting about this game, I don't really like that. Right? Asking thoughtful questions creates thoughtful engagement between the father and their children. And with those engagements, your children learn that, okay, I can talk to my dad. I was talking to my cousin today, and he was talking about his middle son, which is about 16, 17. And he tells his son, he said, hey, man, you're going through something, man. Come to me. Come talk to me. Look, as a man myself, I didn't go to my father. I just didn't. And I was dealing with some real shit, right? This is in the 80s and 90s. I'm actually dealing with stuff. And I didn't go to him, right? Not because he was untrustworthy, but, I mean, can you really help me? When your child understands that you are there to help, that you have the answer, or you can help them find the answer, people tend to lean into you. Not just your children, but people in general. If you have the ability to help someone navigate a problem and better understand what they're going through, that puts you in a better position than most people. Helping people solve problems, or having problem-solving skills, or teaching people how to develop problem-solving skills is an actual skill. It really is. But you do that by asking the thoughtful questions. Now, when we say thoughtful, what we mean is these are not just questions like, what color is the sky? It doesn't take any real contemplation on any level, right? But when you ask the question that requires engagement of the mind, like, okay, why did I just do that? I don't know. Well, you did it. You must know why. I don't know. Okay. Now you can look into, or, for my son's instance, when he was upset about it, what really was he upset about? That's a thoughtful question. What were you really upset about? If it was just a game and that was it, maybe you shouldn't play that game no more, son. Or, if it's the fact that maybe he was concerned about not being able to get another game, maybe that's the issue. And if that's the issue, then we need to talk about that, right? And I would tell him, like, if let's say the conversation was had, and I said, son, what were you really upset about? And he says, I was upset because I wasn't quite sure if I was going to be able to get another game. Then, okay, instead of worrying about me having the money, what if you did things to get the money? Job, chores, whatever, right? He thought about it. And he's like, okay, this is early. He must have been about 10, 12 years old, right? I said, well, I want you to think about that. If you have the money yourself, you don't need to ask me for the money. Now, if it costs $300, you got $250. I'll pitch in 50. And it really gave him time to go, because the idea is to have them put themselves into the situation, look at it as they're in a situation, and go, okay, if I was by myself, how would I solve this? And then allowing them to navigate that, allowing them to navigate that thought or that thinking pattern. Let me read on. Ask thoughtful questions. Instead of, how was your day? Try saying, what was the best part of your day? Did anything challenge you today? What's something on your mind lately? These questions show you genuinely care about their thoughts and feelings. Number 4, stay calm when they open up. This is huge, gentlemen. This is huge. When your child confesses a mistake, don't explode. This will teach them to hide things from you. I used to tell my daughter all the time, I am going to be pissed. I'm going to be more pissed if you lie to me. Way more pissed if you lie to me. However, if you tell me the truth, I won't be as mad. I'm going to be upset, but I won't be as mad. And then one of the lessons, I think this is lesson, let's see, give me a second. There's a lesson on accountability, and being able to have your children trust you. Telling my children, both of them, my son and daughter, telling them, hey, I will be mad at you, but I won't be as mad. And then having them fully understand that my words were my words. I never, ever, 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 ever said one thing and did another with my children. Always consistent. Always. My children, they're adults now, but they could tell you when they were children, you could set your watch by what I was going to do. 100%. As it relates to them, 100%. Because when there's uncertainty, children don't know how to act. What is he going to do this day? What is it this day? What's this? What's that? When they know fully what you expect from them, when they know how to act, then the next steps is going to be easier. Okay, I know for a fact that if I do this, he's going to be upset. I'm going to be punished. I know for a fact if I do this, he's going to be excited. We won't even have nothing to say. And so they would often do the thing that wouldn't cause me to even ask a question. And so a lot of times people will say, you let them do whatever. Not really. What they're doing doesn't fit outside of the framework that as a father you are to instill into your children. That framework, when they go outside of that, now there's a problem, now there's an issue. And typically my children, knew that, okay, I can't do this, but I can do those things. Let me read on. I feel like I lost myself somewhere. Instead of yelling, use a teaching moment. Use it as a teaching moment, by saying, I appreciate you being honest. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what we can do next. So I would tell my children, yep, exactly what I would tell my children. Exactly. When I created this program, it was based off the things I taught my children. 100%. Like my child would say, ask any of them. I only got 2. But if you ask them, they would tell you, yeah, that's what he did. That's exactly what he did. And now, of course, I may not have done it as nicely as I'm reading it, obviously, right? Because as children, they need structure. And structure and discipline isn't pretty to children. As a matter of fact, it's kind of ugly to children. But one of the things I would do is when something happened, whatever it was, right? Like one time my baby girl stayed out like 1, 2 in the morning. She must have been about 12, 13 years old. I'm pissed. I am super, super pissed. We're scared. We're concerned. We're worried. Her phone isn't on. She isn't answering, right? And then she was with some goddamn boy. I'm pissed, y'all. I'm so pissed, right? So when we were driving around the city, I see her, I jump right out, grab her by the arm, get your ass in the truck, right? Because I'm pissed. Like, we haven't talked to her in hours. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You're 12, 13 years old. You should be at home, under the bed, right? The boy she with, I told him, I said, listen, you can never, ever come over again. Ever. Ever come over again. Ever. Right? Took her home, talked to her for about 2-3 hours straight. Right? She pissed, not because she on punishment. She mad. Oh, no. Allow us to understand that you did this to you. Right? So I sent her to a room. The next day come, I said, we need to have a conversation. I'm gonna give you 45 minutes. Either I come get you or you come get me. But you got 45 minutes, right? And I would do that to prepare them for the conversation. So she'd come, more than likely my daughter would come to me. My son, on the other hand, I had to go get him. My daughter would come to me. She'd come to me, I said, okay, what are we doing next? Granted, right, you was out having fun with your boyfriend and good old time, and at 12, 13 years old, right? We got that out of our system. What are we doing next? Are you on punishment? Do you understand why you did it? Do you understand why we're upset? Explain to me why we're upset. Because I didn't want you to understand why we're upset and have them go, yes. Okay, and then I explain why we're upset. No, you say you understand. Okay, now explain it to me. Because now I have to actually gauge whether she fully understands why we're upset. And she, and I knew when it was just say all the right things so I wouldn't be upset. And that would give them opportunity to go, okay, right? My next move should look different than my last move, right? Much, much different. And they would move different, right? And of course it wouldn't be something as extreme as that, but she would call and say, well, I'm at a friend's house and I'm staying later than I wanted to, and this is where I'm at and this is the address. Okay. And maybe once or twice in their entire life, I would drive by the house. But the 2 times I did it, right, it was like, oh, he really might drive by the house. So that she never knew if I was going to or not. I digress. I'm sorry about that. But the point is, right, allow your children to be honest and then telling them, right, look, just be honest with me. And if you're honest with me, then we're going to go from that point on and figure out what our solution should be, what our next step should be. Right, let me read on. Your reaction determines whether they trust you with bigger issues in the future, and it does. Number 5, share your own experiences. Let your children know you were once in their shoes. Saying, I struggle with X too. Or saying, I made mistakes, but I learned from them. Makes you relatable and approachable. The one thing I never hear from my children, let me finish that section, number 5. Lastly, they don't need a perfect father. They need a real one who understands them. The one thing I did with my children is, I never hear from my children that I was in prison. Never. I never hid that from them. I never hid from them, my life as, drug dealer, gangbanger, all the things I should do, before I got married. All the things before them was, I never hid that from them. Not in the sense of glorifying any of that nonsense, but in a sense of letting them know that not everyone is going to be perfect. And as life has it, you're going to mess up because life is hard, right? And for me, this is just for me, gentlemen. For me, what it did was it took away the fact that I had to be perfect for my children. Because now I'm just saying, I've been through the same thing you've been through, if not worse. And as a matter of fact, it's taught me X, Y, and Z. Because the goal isn't to be a perfect father. It isn't to give perfect, it isn't, you're not going to be a perfect father. That's not the goal. The goal isn't to say the most perfect things, because you're not going to. The goal is to raise children that are healthy, happy, and useful members of society, right? We do that by letting them know, I'm not perfect. Yes, I am the one that makes the rules. Yes, I am the one who established the law. That's me. But I'm not establishing the law, and I'm not saying I'm perfect or and I'm trying to be perfect because I'm your father. I'm saying these things because I know for a fact what happens when you do different, right? And that sets a tone for your children. Okay, my dad isn't perfect. He has problems too. I can go to him with this. Hey dad, remember the one time you told me about X, Y, and Z? Yeah, I'm going through something similar. Oh yeah? Tell me about it. And so the conversation becomes a little more relatable. Now, in my parenting book, 8 Principles of Parenting, I talk about your children not being your friend. My children are adults. They're still not my friend. I'm their father. I'm their father forever. Always. I'm never their friend, ever. Because I have to make the hard decisions. I have to be the one to set the tone for the family. I have to be the one that sets the rule of law for the family. And sometimes those rules aren't fun. Sometimes those rules aren't, enjoyable. And so, while we want to be relatable to our children, give me a second. While you want to be relatable to your children, and being relatable and approachable doesn't mean that you have to be their friends. It doesn't mean that you have to, now be nice to them. You have to be kind because they're children and loving, obviously, because they're your children. But being relatable and being approachable doesn't necessarily mean that you need to start being a friend. I could be relatable and approachable at the exact same time, still be your father. Absolutely. And it's going to be hard. And this isn't something that y'all just going to pick up. You're not. If you're not the kind of father who's been doing this for 5, 10, 15 years, if you're a new father, all these things I'm teaching, and all the things I'm telling you about are going to come up. And it's learning how to navigate them that makes being a father that much harder. Because no 2 children are alike. Not a single one. No humans at all, child or adult, are alike. None of us. So with each child comes a different challenge. However, the teaching method or the framework by which you're going to guide your children is going to be the same. Because whether they're boy or girl, now there's going to be different levels of the framework. For my daughter and for my son, that's what I do. I'm a little more cautious with my daughter than my son because that's my son. My baby girl, right? I am really, really, really protective and really cautious, like when I'm with her. But the point I'm trying to make is even with the fact that we are laying down the framework for our children, it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be like friendly. Like, oh, how's your day? How's everything going with you? Like, okay, I still need to be your father because the second you do something that sits outside of the framework that I laid down for the family, we had to have a conversation. I didn't raise you to be that kind of woman, son. Baby girl. I didn't raise you to be that kind of man, son. Right? So, I lost my train of thought. Let's read on, man. So we're going to start the next section. It's called The Cost of Home. The cost of a home without an open conversation. This entire section is about what happens to a home when there is no open communication. I think I'm going to end it here. But when I start the next video tomorrow, Thursday, we're going to start at the cost of a home without open conversation. Oftentimes, y'all, before I leave, you'll see in the corner here, you'll see either a logo for the Become a Better Father program, something about our ISI, our Iron Sharpen Iron conversations, which would be also, the logo would be here, or it would be the actual logo for the channel, the Brotherhood of Iron Academy, right? That'll tell you what we're going to talk about. So if you're often looking for a video, you want to know what we're talking about, the logo will be here in the corner. Just so y'all know why there are different logos, because every video is going to be about something different. And the goal is to have the thumbnail match the logo. Okay. So that's it, man. That's it. I hope I didn't do too much rambling. Again, if you want the first module of my program, it's in the description box. Your name, your email, you can download it, it's yours. And if you want the complete program, that is also in the description box. That's going to cost you, though. It's only $97. One thing I like to do is I like to be transparent about what my course is and what it does. And I want you to have access to the course so that way you're not guessing as to what you're going to get. The one thing that sets me apart from every other guru on social media or on YouTube is I don't just say here, buy my course and it's completely mysterious or mystical. No. Anybody who spends their hard-earned money, I believe, in my heart of hearts, I believe, has a right to know what they're buying. Everybody. Now, you may not know fully what you're going to get. However, with most things, however, with this, the program is different, right? You download the module, right? You have it. You be able to follow the first 10 lessons. There's two downloads with that. You'll be able to, you'll know fully what you're going to get. And then the entire program is just like the first module. So it's not like you're going to get something brand new. Now, you may get, I think with that download, there's a couple of books. It's like 4 or 5 books that come with the whole program. But it's not ever going to be more than a couple $100 ever. And that's a long story I did about that. However, if you want the program, it's $97. If you want just the regular download, it's the first link in the description. Name, email, and it's yours. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.